Okay, testing audio good. Okay, everybody, welcome. I'm Brad Cox, the superintendent of schools here in Beecher, and I have 7 o'clock, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody tuning in to get some questions answered and to get a better understanding of this path that we're headed down. So this is going to be a little bit interesting. I'm sitting here by myself in my office and I'm almost 50, so I'm hoping that I don't mess up this technology in any way, shape, or form. So if for some reason that goes astray, then we'll figure it out. But really appreciate all of the great questions that everybody had, and all of the great questions, and so hopefully we'll start to get on the same page. Somebody's already asked. Yes, everybody is already muted. So I'll be the only one talking, and if at some point in time we have some questions, then I can unmute you one at a time. So what we're going to do is, I tried to take the dozens of responses, individuals, tried to group them into categories. So I don't know, there were I don't know, 150 or 200 questions probably all told, and so I'm going to try to group them into category. If I don't get every specific question read, hopefully we'll be able to get at least everything covered. Also know that this is also being recorded. The IT guys will put it up on the COVID-19 section of the website, most likely tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So I just want to start by saying, yes, this is a dual model where students can come to school, participate in person, but they can also remotely engage. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The safest way to do this is to stay at home, right? It's a pandemic, and so I want everybody to I don't want anybody to have any illusions that going the in-person model is going to be as safe as keeping your kid at home. So I mean, most of you know I'm a parent. I have a second grader. We've had these conversations as well, and so that being said, we'll just kind of start rolling through these. So one topic is calendar. Is there going to be a new school calendar coming out with the modifications to it? Yes, it's actually already on the website, adjusted for first day of student attendance being on the 28th. Also adjusted the end of school, bumping it back a year because the federal election day in November got turned into a federal holiday. So we lost a day there. So a bigger topic, the instructional model. Lots of questions on the instructional model. So let me give you kind of an overview of what that looks like. What we've tried to design, what we have designed, is an instructional model that is all but the same whether a kid is at home or in person. It's really a dual classroom. A teacher is teaching a class in 2 different locations. One is the online component, one is the in-person component. And so as the instructor is going through their lesson, those in the class will obviously be able to see and hear what's going on. But through technology, all the students that are connected remotely in real time will be live streamed exactly what that is. And so, we're putting in place, finalizing technologies. So as the teacher, if the teacher goes up to the whiteboard, they can move their camera, zoom it in, so everybody at home sees what the instruction is that's going on the board. The teacher has some sort of a headset microphone, and so everybody at home can hear and see exactly what the teacher is doing. So as that model implies, the best case scenario is that while this instruction is happening, literally at the exact same time, it doesn't matter whether kids are in person or at home, everybody's following the same schedule. And so if first period class is science, then at 8:05, if you're at the junior high, at 8 o'clock rather, you start into science. And the kids at home at 8 o'clock are running through the exact same schedule. We tried to put that in place so that to keep the kind of the fidelity of it, because then if there are days where we're shut down or we have to go 100% remote, then it's still the same schedule, but now everybody's just remote. And so there is kind of this kind of sanctity of this 8 to 11:30, everybody's doing the same thing. Now in the afternoons, it gets a little less kind of rigid time-wise. Our model then is that the students will have 90 minutes of student-centered, student-led instruction in the afternoon, trying to take that burden off parents and to make it so that students can complete that extra 90 minutes to get to our 300 minutes on their own. Teachers will be online and available from 1 to 2:30, also 90 minutes. And so kind of in a perfect world, the student is completing their 90 minutes at the same time that the teachers are available, in case they have any questions. Now, all of this morning live stream is recorded because we know that there are going to be instances where, yeah, we have students who are remote learning, but they're unavailable in the morning. And so all the content that is received in the morning will be archived into to the teacher's portal. You'll get individual instructions from all your teachers on how that works. There'll be videos. We'll go through that in a little bit. And so all of that will be archived. So if for some reason learning in your house doesn't happen until 4:30 in the afternoon, then those lessons can be downloaded, viewed. You can look at what the assignments are. You can go through what the afternoon expectations were for continued learning. Our philosophy, as it was in the fourth quarter, is going to be, we understand that everybody's situation is unique, and as long as a student and as a family, you're putting your best foot forward, and we're trying to do everything we can to continue the teaching and learning process, we're going to do everything that we can to work with you. So with that being said, kind of that general overview, let me kind of go through some questions here. Can we get an overview of what the day looks like? Oh, I just did that, okay. Can the additional 90 minutes be completed after hours for parents who work? Yes, of course. So parents who are having a hard time finding childcare, can they log in at different times of the day? Yes, of course. Is there a plan in place for if and when schools will need to be closed for a longer period of time again? Okay, so as I said earlier, we've set this up so if for some reason, let's say we get 3 weeks into this and the governor of Illinois closes all the schools down again. All we're going to do is we're going to run the exact same program, but instead of 70% of the kids being on campus and 30% at home, the exact same program, but 100% are going to be at home. Will the students take a full schedule during in-person classes? I'm going to say yes, but there's going to be an asterisk with that, okay? At the junior high and high school, basically yes. The students will take their full load of classes. The elementary school is going to look a little different. Each one of your grade level teachers will reach out to you on this, but the in-person, that morning time is really going to be concentrated on math, reading, and writing. Will all students be getting a school-issued device? Yes, you will. So I guess my main question is, How is all this going to work for working parents? I think we went over that. There'll be there'll be recorded lessons, the availability to do that work in the evening. Is there a specific time that the 90 minutes of e-learning is done? No, there's not. Once again, if in your house that looks like, that gets done in the evenings, that's fantastic. Once again, the teachers will be available during the day, and our staff is very dedicated. They'll always be available, via email, and try to get back to you with whatever it is that you might need. Question about, kind of general questions about IEP minutes and related services. If you have specific questions about any of your special ed services, make sure that you are reaching out to those teachers or the coordinator, Don Compton, and they'll be glad to get you whatever you need. But basically, all of our IEP minutes are going to be covered. That includes all of the related services that might go along with that. A question is in particular about speech, and this also applies to some of the younger grade levels about, yes, the staff members will have face coverings, but one of the things that we're testing is the clear face coverings, because in a lot of instances, it's important that that the students can actually see the staff members' lips and mouth as they work through that. So we are testing some of those clear masks to see if that might help. Will there be snack time at the elementary school? There won't be eating. There won't be snack time. Okay. How do I get in touch with the school to notify them if my child will be doing e-learning on the computer or attending school? Should have been surveys sent out to everybody. If you didn't get one, then just contact your building office. It's really important that we get that information so we know who is going to be remote learning and who is going to be in person. That allows all of the administrators to, if there's a need to balance out classes, to try to, we don't want, if there are 3 sections of, pick one, second grade. If there are 3 sections of second grade, we don't want them to be 10, 10, 20. And so the sooner that we get that information, the quicker that we can make sure that all of those classes are balanced out. And obviously we can't release class lists until we know those classes are balanced out. So hopefully that process will be finalized this week into next week, and you should have class lists next week. Also, if my child will be attending school, will they also be attending e-learning on the computer after school? There might be opportunities in that 90 minutes of after school where your child will be on a device, but there might not be as well. It might be reading out of a book, or additional physical exercise, or it might be additional continuation of homework from earlier in the day. So again, as your child gets into that, that it'll be clear that the types of activities that they'll have in the afternoon. In the plans mentioned live instruction. Could you please explain how that worked? We just did. That's good. Will there be certain teachers teaching remote learning? Not at this point. At this point, I know that in some larger schools, there are enough remote learners that this teacher specializes in the remote learning. But in the model that we have, that's not necessary, because, like I said, it's the same instruction regardless of whether your student is at home or in school. What subjects will be taught during the live instruction? All of them. Will remote learning be accessible all year? No idea. One of the things that the last 5 months has taught, I think, probably at all probably all of us, is that nobody knows what the next 2 weeks are going to bring. And so, you know, we'll try to do everything we can to be, you know, transparent in the process, to let everybody know, you know, what's going on and what we're thinking. But to say that, yes, you'll be able to remote all year, I don't know that that's a thing. If we decide to remote learn, will my children have the opportunity to have someone to teach them via Google Classroom or Zoom? Yes, like we were just talking about, that live model. Will all high school classes be live streamed and live instruction? Yes. And again, not only will they be live streamed, but they'll also be recorded. So the students and parents can go on at a later date and either view that for the first time or review it. Can you give an example of the block scheduling and how this works with KCC students? So at the junior high and high school, we're moving forward with a block scheduling mentality, meaning that if we take our 3.5 hours in the morning, we chop it up into the 8 class periods, they turn out to be about 25 minutes long. And so what we're going to do is we're going to block that and make it so that it's every other day. And so if Sally has chemistry, instead of it being every day for 25 minutes, she'll have it for 50 minutes on Monday, not on Tuesday, and then 50 minutes again on Wednesday. And then on Friday, they'll run a schedule where every class does meet, just to kind of tie things up for the end of the week. And then how that works with ACC, I'm sure Mr. Gaham has been in contact with all the KCC students and families to not make sure that you send him an email. How that works is they'll be able to attend, but they'll be able to then get back on campus to have a couple more classes into their schedule. Okay. Let's move to infection, COVID-19 infection. So my caveat on this is, and if I don't say it more than several times, I should, but in every instance, when we think that there is if we're just concerned with a student or staff member having symptoms, let alone a positive test, everything will be done in coordination and at the direction of the Will County Health Department, as they work in conjunction with the Illinois Department of Public Health. They're the health experts, right? We're the education experts. And so when any of these issues arise, the administration is going to be and continuous close contact with our school nurses. Our nurses will be in close contact with the Will County Health Department, and they'll help guide us. That being said, we do have some kind of what we think are basic guidelines in place to be able to work our way through that. So here's a question. So I'm planning on having my children attend in person. Do we have any idea on the guidelines for when we have a child with COVID-like symptoms or when they test positive? Will it just be the classroom that needs to close down or the whole school? Okay, so there's a bunch there. So if we have anyone with COVID-like symptoms or a positive test, like I said, we're going to be in contact with Will County Health Department. They'll be having us do contact tracing for that student or staff member. And the way that looks for us, we're going to be sticklers on the in-person for seating charts. So we're going to know exactly who a student, because the kind of the magic markers are less than 6 feet for 15 minutes. We're going to know what students, by where they sit and who is within that radius, who then would, let's say, for example, a student does test positive, then we would be able to contact the families of all of those students in proximity, both on the bus and in the classroom, because those students would then need to, be isolated as well. And in a positive test, there would be a strong possibility, a likelihood that the entire building would close, probably close for 1 to 2 days. You're supposed to let it sit and then and air it out and then clean it. And so there would that would be a definite possibility. Okay, just did that. What protocols in place for staff and students that are displaying symptoms? So if we have somebody who is displaying symptoms, then they need to be in close contact with our school nurses. I believe we even got it changed. So as you call into each one of the buildings, there's an initial cue that message that reads to get in contact with the school nurse. Here's the extension. Very important that everybody is communicating. And so if somebody's displaying symptoms, they will be in close contact with our school nurses, who will then be in close contact with the Will County Health Department. And the Will County Health Department will guide us through all steps, including what that process looks like for someone to be cleared to return back to campus. What's the protocol for notifying parents when their students have been exposed to staff or students that have been tested positive for COVID? All of those, as we do our contact tracing, our school nurse will make all of those notifications. When discussing substantial symptoms or possible COVID cases, it states in our reopening plan, a student who has been certified as having a substantial number of symptoms. Certified by who? So there's a self-certification part to this. So our nurses will be sending out a letter to everybody. It will also be on our website that will basically give you the list of symptoms, the things to look for. And so if you send your child to school, you're certifying that morning they didn't have any of those symptoms. Okay, they refer to that as self-certification. Okay? And so when one of the things that we will do is we'll take the temperature of every student that gets to school, and if everybody's doing this self-certification, we should go as long as this takes and never have a kid show up with a fever, because part of that self-certification process is, as a parent, I'm going to make sure that my child doesn't have any of those symptoms. And so if it's at home and a child is having symptoms, then that's that self-certification piece, and the parent would be in contact with the school district and our school nurses. And if the symptoms develop at school, then our school nurse would take stock of those symptoms and then be in contact with the Will County Health Department and obviously the parents. If a remote student has prescription medications normally kept in the office, should the parents still drop off the medication at the school in the eventuality the student returns to school on a periodic basis? I'm just going to say that if your child needs a specific medication or supplies, make sure that they are readily available wherever they are. And so before you would, if you start remote and your child starts coming to school, please make triple sure that everything that they would need to be provided for medically is in the hands of school personnel before you would send them back to school. Next broad topic is students. I have students changing structure. And so what I mean by that is, to me, the structure is, am I remote or am I in person? And so kind of our overarching philosophy on that is that, number one, these are your kids. So we want you to feel comfortable with wherever they are, and we want you to act, obviously, as their parent in their best interest. And we don't ever want to infringe upon that right. And so if you're going to say, I want I want my son or daughter to remote learn, then that's what they're going to do. And we're going to support you in that. So that's been our philosophy from the start, and one that's going to continue. And so as educators, we want everybody here, okay? But we're not going to mandate that or enforce it. And if however this looks to you and whatever your comfort level, and we're not just talking about the being in person to school. This applies to the bus too. Okay, I don't think I'm talking out of turn here, but my second grader, I'm not putting him on the bus, right? I'm gonna take him to and from school. Normally, last year he rode the bus. This year he's not going to. As a parent, that's my decision, right? If a month from now I decide, yeah, I think it's okay he rides a bus, I'm going to notify the school. Again, communication, super important. In this environment, we can't over communicate. But if I decide as a parent, yeah, I'm going to put him on the bus and I'm going to send him, I notify the school, we get everything set up, that starts happening. If another 3 weeks go by and go, this isn't working out the way I wanted it to, I want him back off the bus. I'm going to call the school, I'm going to make all the arrangements. I'm going to start taking him myself again. Okay. So again, this model is all about trying to make sure that your children are being taken care of in exactly the manner that you want to. You're in the driver's seat. So all kinds of questions. So this topic might have been the most questions actually. So questions like, how long are we locked into our decision regarding in school or e-learning? You're not. Okay. If you sign up for, there's even a question on here. What if I signed up for in person, but before we even start, I want to switch to remote? Great. Call the office. Let them know. Communicate. Over communicate. So you're not locked into, if I choose for my student to attend in-person school and they want to change to remote learning at a later date, is that possible? Of course. Can we change our minds about our selection for bus and instructional module? Of course. If my son or daughter gets sick, can they switch over to full remote? And then when they're well enough to come back, can they? As long as you're in communication with the school nurse and your child clears whatever the Will County Health Department says for them to come back to school, and send them back to school. When will we get our students' daily schedule? I believe at the junior high and high school, most of you should have that already. The elementary school, once class lists get made, those individual and you're notified of class lists, those individual teachers will be in contact with you. If we choose in-person learning, can we change to remote at a later date? Can you change your mind about sending or not sending, or do you have to wait until the end of the quarter to change your preference? You don't. You can change your mind. Again, communicate, over communicate. It's of huge importance. Okay, it's 7:30. I'm exactly halfway done. So if you can kind of take note, and at the end of this, I'll see if I can figure out how to do a little question and answer with everybody on the line. Okay. The next category here is start of the school year mechanisms. So a lot of this is about, open house and supplies. And so that's kind of the, one of the things that we are doing is for those who are remote learning, we anticipate that at this point in time, it's going to be about, somewhere between 25 and 30% of our total students are going to be remote. Next Monday afternoon and Tuesday evening, I guess it'll be the 24th and 25th. It'll be the opportunity for, if you're a remote learning student, you and one of your parents can make a scheduled time, and you can come in and collect your device, receive a little, a quick tutorial on some things from one of your teachers, and then also collect whatever books and things. And so there'll be like a material pickup, and your technology will be that as well. Then we're looking at probably Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, 25th and 26th, sounds like, for material drop off. One of the, if you're concerned with your kid going to school the first day of that Friday the 28th with a big backpack full of stuff, and you want to drop materials off, that will most likely done. I'm kind of envisioning this at the elementary school, because that's where a lot of us as parents tend to be a little bit more anxious about where's the student's room and that kind of thing. So I think we're going to have that kind of in several areas. So as you do that material drop off, you should be able to have a little bit better idea of where your child is going. Will there be an opportunity for students to meet their teachers and pick up material? We just did that. For students who are remote learning, what do you recommend for supplies, for school supplies? You can go online and see your class lists, and once you can also email your teacher specifically to see if they have anything that differentiates from the online class lists. When will we know what class and teacher? When will we know what class and teacher our child has? We went over that earlier. As soon as everybody gets their surveys in, we're able to make sure that our class lists, our class rosters are pretty balanced. Then we'll get those class lists out. I've seen references to school issued devices for the e-learning portion. How and when do we get those? So I talked about how the remote learners will get those. The in-person learners will get those on the first day of school when they show up. We all have the supplies. We have all the supplies requested on the list. Is that list going to be revised in any way? It won't be unless you're specifically contacted by the instructor. Last year we had an open house, which was hugely beneficial for our child to prepare for her first day. Are there plans for a virtual open house or modified in some way? Yes. So some teachers may do kind of like this, a virtual open house. All teachers will be doing instructional videos, because one of the things that it's really important is not only that students and parents get to see the teacher, get to have a flavor for who they are and what they're like, but then also there are some technology pieces that are going to be hugely important. And so as a parent, I need to know, how do I make sure that my student can log in and see this? And as a parent, how do I log in and see that and communicate, in this portal or that? And so one of the things that all of our teachers will be completing next week will be those videos to be able to roll out to all the specific parents. I was wondering if there would be a modified back to school night for parents. We just talked about that. The first day of school instruction is pushed back to the 28th. What's happening during those first 5 days? What are we supposed to be doing? As a parent, we need to make sure that we're accessing the videos that the teacher has created for us, that we are becoming comfortable with what that what those applications might be. And it might be that that we're not actually able to really get comfortable with it or really put our hands on it until after the 28th, when the students have had that, they've been able to come home with their device, they've seen it in action. And so, maybe over that weekend, to be able to bring those videos back out, after you've looked at them, a first time. Now that you've got it in front of it, look at it again, dive in and do a little bit more training. And obviously, if you have issues, reach out to your teacher so they can direct you on exactly how to make that happen. Next category is to start the day. We've already talked about self-certification in the letter that will be going home from our school nurses. That self-certification piece, I can't, I don't think we can stress that enough. We need to make sure that before, as staff members, before we come to work, and this is, we were having this conversation today because really this is the opposite, right? This is the opposite of what we're kind of ingrained with. It's that Protestant work ethic, right? Work hard, fear God, make money. And so when if I get up in the morning and I feel crappy and I've got a headache and maybe I've got a little fever or whatever, I'm coming to work, right? I mean, that's what we've always done. This is the complete opposite of that. And so this self-certification, whether it's for staff members or whether it's me as a dad for my kid, this self-certification is any symptoms, call the nurse, keep them home. Stay home, call the nurse, right? And so there are a couple of things about this pandemic that are almost complete polar opposite to the way we've been, to the way that that we've lived our life, and this is definitely a part of it. So that self-certification is hugely important. Question: what daily screening will be performed for staff and students upon arrival? There will be for all students. We'll do a forehead scan of to check their temperature. Excuse me. We're going to drop off our daughter. What are the details? Where do we drop her off? All of the drop-off mechanisms are the same as they have been. Where does she go first? That's different. Traditionally, we've had students kind of pool and gather, collect in areas prior to school starting. Now, as soon as you get dropped off, you go straight to your first class, whether it's at your homeroom or whatever that looks like. And of course, as soon as I get out of the car here as an employee, I put on my face covering. As soon as a child gets out of the car, if they're dropped off, they put on their face covering. As soon as a child goes to step on the bus, they put on their face covering. What will drop off look like? Will there be any staggering? There won't be staggering. Daily dismissal on the other side. The dismissal procedure for students will be like normal. And once again, it's this 6 feet and it's the 6 feet and 15 minutes for contact tracing. That's really a marker that we're really trying to be cognizant of. And so if students walk by each other in the hallway and obviously they each have their face coverings on, then that encounter is not, yes, it's less than 6 feet, but it's not 15 minutes. And so as we move to the next category, which is masks and social distancing, we just talked about a couple of instances where there won't be social distancing, and by and large, the majority of the in-person instruction model will not be socially distanced. Every opportunity that we can, we will try to do that. If it's trips to the bathroom or the drinking fountain, or students being in a hallway, anytime that we can spread kids out, we're going to. But if you stop and think about exactly what that school experience looks like, riding a school bus, being in a classroom, our classrooms, if we have 70% of our students in the classroom, then we're probably looking at 18-ish kids per class. There's not the physical space in a classroom for social distancing. And so that's why the face coverings are so important, and without exception. If your child has a hard time wearing face coverings, then it's going to be hard for them to be in person, because with very few exceptions during the day, that 3.5 hours that they're on campus, they're going to be in a mask. And I'm going to tell you what, that I don't think that's easy for anybody. I was just in a 2-hour meeting where I was masked the whole time, and that was a lot. And so 3.5 hours for kids really of any age, that's a huge ask. And so, but it's of vital importance. That face covering component is huge, to be able to have an in-person model where it's just not going to be, outbreak. We have to shut the whole thing down. And so, that's something that we're not going to be lenient on. I'm telling you right now, we're not going to be lenient at all. And I'm not talking about, a fourth grader doesn't have their mask on, right? They have it, underneath their nose, and the teacher goes, Timmy, make sure that you're pull that up. Okay. That's always a part of the education process. I'm talking about students that just, take it off, refuse to put it back on. We're not going to have any tolerance for that. If your student can't be in a mask, then they can't be on a bus. They can't be at school. And so we've already informed our bus drivers, that, if you have a student who is, not masked, that has to be addressed immediately. The building principal has to be notified. If it's a repeat offender, then they just are going to be removed from the bus. Same thing, repeat offenders will be removed from campus, and they will remote learn. Because, some of the, I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, and right, somebody on that team didn't really follow all the rules, right? And so, we already have examples of where this has gotten out of hand in a hurry. And if we're not really cognizant about how this looks and how we implement, then this is going to be over before it starts. So, so the next category, which I already ran into, is masks and social distancing. How will the district follow CDC guidelines on social distancing? We won't. I'm going to tell you right now, if social distancing is a huge piece of your comfort level as a parent, just know the vast majority of the time that your child is here, they will not be socially distanced. So that's not a logistic possibility. I know everyone has their own opinion of use of masks. If students come from a household that feels masks aren't necessary and will be attending in-school classes, will the mask requirement really be enforced? Yep. Think back to our teaching model. It's the same. It's the same instruction, whether you're in person or whether you're remote. It's the same schedule. It's the same teacher. It's the same conversation. We're going to have kids at home who are going to raise their hand, ask a question. The teacher's going to repeat the question. Everybody can hear it. A kid in person might answer the question. The teacher repeats the answer. Everybody hears it. It's really one big classroom, chopped up. How student social distancing can be accomplished in the classroom and hallways. In the hallways, maybe sometimes, classroom alone. How will correctly wearing a face covering be enforced? We'll educate kids, repeatedly, especially at the beginning, on a lot of things, from hand washing to face coverings. We're educators. That's what we do. But at the end of the day, there'll be a real strict enforcement on that. Masks are required in the buildings, but what about outside, like on school grounds? Okay, so there's kind of two different conversations there. Outside, but pick up and drop off, completely masked. No, so there won't be any you know, as we either get into the building or come out of the building, there won't be an opportunity to socially distance. So, like I said, as soon as your child gets out of the car, they need to have their mask on. The other piece, though, masks will be required in the buildings. Oh, hang on, where am I? Okay, what about outside? So the other piece is one of the things that we are trying to formulate is sometimes like PE and recess, where those instructors can get kids outside in activities where they are socially distanced and utilizing all of the space. So they can take their mask off even if it's for a few minutes. Also having conversations about, you know, some teachers wanting to move their classes outside so they can, you know, sit all of their students, you know, 20 feet apart. Of course, then they have to take the technology with them, but the technology works that way. So there may be a few opportunities to give kids some real quality social distancing, but those will be few and far between. I also heard that the kids are going to be participating in gym class. How's that going to work? It's going to work a lot of different ways. A lot of the PE activities are going to be, you know, low impact things. I was just having a conversation with Mrs. Black about, you know, a push-in PE yoga based in the classroom, not even going to the gym. And so your individual PE teacher will detail that for you. What about bathroom breaks? Are they going to be supervised in the bathrooms? If they're going to, so a couple different things. We will try to make it so students are sent to the bathroom in as small groups as possible, actually inside the bathroom with staff members outside to monitor. That's what we've always done. Also, at the junior high and high school, trying to get it so we've actually increased the passing periods to allow for some of these flexibilities at the junior high and high school, trying to get it so the students would actually go to their next class, check in with the teacher, so the staff can kind of regulate how many students are going to the bathroom. Will the students going back in person be supplied with masks? The school does have masks. If for some reason, if a student shows up at the bus driver's door of the bus and doesn't have a mask, the bus driver's going to box of masks. Here, put that on, make sure it's on. Okay, go have a seat. What kind should they wear the first day of school moving forward? The guidance that's out there is always cloth masks and cloth face coverings. Okay. Cleaning is the next topic. How will the school and classrooms be sanitized from day to day? Every night, we have a dual cleaning process. They will be wiped down using one agent, and then after they are physically wiped down, then we have like this sanitizing spray that electrostatically adheres to the hard surfaces and kills bacteria and virus. And so that application, that electrostatic application that kills bacteria and viruses, is supposed to last for several days, but we're going to apply that every night. In the junior high, it's my understanding students will be changing classrooms. Will be enough time to wipe down classrooms in between classes. That won't be necessary because, as I said, that sanitizing agent will remain in effect for more than 24 hours and stay active. There's a question here about the cleaning and disinfecting chemicals themselves, that there have been a lot of recalls by the FDA about some of these either hand sanitizers or sanitizing agents actually doing more harm. The sanitizing and cleaning agents that we use are actually EPA approved, and the hand sanitizer that we use is actually CDC approved. Busing, next category. What will bus seating look like? Talks about limiting capacity and assigned seating, but will students share seats? Will all seats be occupied? Our guidance is that we're allowed to put 50 students on a bus. And so we're kind of estimating at this point with the numbers that we're getting on how many students are going to either remote learn or not be transported by school bus that the parents are going to bring them. We're estimating that we're probably going to have between 30 and 40 riders per bus. And so in those instances, whenever possible, families will sit together. And as I said before, there'll be strict seating charts. School closings. What will be the primary source of information that the district will use in determining if the school buildings need to close and all students need to go to remote learning? Okay, so the primary source of information that we're going to use is obviously the number of cases that we've had it as a district, the number of times that we've had to close down our buildings or the entire campus. One of the secondary pieces that we will obviously look at is the actual Beecher infectivity rates. You know, one of the interesting things about our community is, yes, we're in Will County, but we don't look a lot like Joliet. You know, our demographics, you know, compared to Joliet or Plainfield or all those, you know, others that are, you know, truly suburban, that looks a lot different. And so we'll be using local information for that. Teachers being remote. Have teachers been given the option of teaching remotely if they don't feel comfortable returning to the building? Yes, they have. If they've been given the option and elect to teach remotely, what will that look like? As parents, will we be informed? So if a teacher is teaching remotely, then that's what they'll do. They'll be at home. They will conduct their lessons. And so they will remotely connect to all students, whether they're in the classroom or remote. In the class itself, then we will have other school staff to supervise and coordinate the in-classroom activity. And yes, as a parent, you'll know who those staff members are. Currently, we only have 3 district employees who are going to start the year working from home. And so we'll continue to move forward with that as it comes up. Now, these last few, you'll have to pardon me, these were some of the later ones, and so I wasn't able to kind of work these in. Will passing periods be staggered? No, they won't. Are the desks 6 feet apart? No, they aren't. If your student is remote learning and playing a sport and there is an away match, can the parents drive them so they're not on a bus? Yeah, probably. I don't think we've made a final determination on that. But you know, have that conversation with your coach and they'll run it up to the athletic director. But yeah, I don't have it. How will students social distance in crowded hallways? They won't. How will they be able to participate in contact sports with masks on? None of our fall sports, I don't think that we are moving forward with would be deemed contact sports. You know, like basketball is a more high contact sport, and that's in the winter. I don't know how that's going to look. trust me, I get it. It's a lot. There's a lot to it. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in. And now as I go to the question and answer, I see a hand raised. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do that. Stephanie, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Hi there. Did you have a question?
I did a Q&A, but I didn't know which one was going to work. So if your child starts within class learning, but you decide you want to remove them, are you able to do that or no?
Of course. Of course. You know, our philosophy has always been that these are your kids and you're the best ones to determine their health and safety. And so if you get a couple weeks into it and you say, I want the other model, communicate, over communicate, let the school know what's going on. Let them know, what your needs are, that you're switching models, why you're switching models, just over communicate. We're not going to try to stifle that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've got another hand raise. Okay, let's see if we can get Ashley in here. Maybe. Nope. Nope. Hang on.
Nope.
Ashley, is that you?
Yes, it is.
All right, Ashley, do you have a question?
Okay. So my question is, my son's going to be in the junior high. When he comes into the building, you said they're going to their first class. So do they take their belongings for each class in a book bag that they carry with them, or will they be going to lockers in between? How does that work?
Yeah, actually, they'll continue to be able to utilize their lockers, and that's a big part of another big part of why we've increased time and passing periods. We will have staff members in the hallway, kind of directing, and what we're going to encourage with kids is, take your time getting to your locker. If there's a student already getting in one of the lockers beside you, just wait a minute. You're not gonna be late. We're not gonna count you tardy. Just wait until your locker is clear to be able to go in and get it. It seems like every year that we go down the road, students use their lockers less and less. But at this point in time, we're gonna allow them that extra time to be able to utilize them.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. And thank you for putting your hand down because I wasn't going to be able to figure out how to do that. So thank you. Let's go to Courtney.
Hi, I was just wondering if on days where it's extremely hot, I know we have the choice to change our minds between remote and in person, but like my little guy has trouble with asthma. If I know it's going to be extremely hot that day, can I choose remote just for that day and then send him back the next day?
100%. 100%.
Okay, great.
Again, as a parent, something causes a red flag for me, I'm keeping him home. 100%. Thanks for your question, Courtney. Okay, I've got Joan and Cliff. Joan, can you talk? Joan and Clifford? Got your hand up. Okay, we'll maybe come back. How about Erica?
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go. I got you, Erica.
So my biggest concern right now, we're doing remote learning, but I wondered about grading because I felt like grading and assignments, I know it was kind of a gimme last quarter for everybody. So will there be more accountability this year? So if the teacher says that the assignment is due on Friday, it's due on Friday, and kids don't have the rest of the semester to turn things in for credit.
That's great, and that's a great topic. And I appreciate that. Oddly enough, I know this is going to sound weird. Fourth quarter last year, we were harsher on grading than almost everybody else, than any other school district, okay? And it was, and as you've acknowledged, it was still super lenient. We still tried to do everything we could to make sure that students were given every opportunity. This year, I think the easiest way to describe it is, it's going to look a whole lot like what it used to, like under normal, I'm going to quote, normal circumstances. And so, yeah, will there be a few things like, you know, if an assignment's given Monday and it's supposed to be turned in Wednesday, and if a kid turns it in Friday, they're still going to get credit? Yeah, probably. But it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be, you know, oh, a kid turns in a whole quarter's worth of, you know, reading logs, you know, week 9 of the quarter and expects credit for the whole thing. Right?
Because that was the case. I mean, I'll have a junior in high school, and trying to get her to be motivated to do her work is a little hard when, unfortunately, they have the whole semester. And I thought it was very unfair to your teachers to try and cram all this grading in the last week. So I wanted to make sure, because I'm trying to raise a teenager to know that there's accountability in life, and that was hard to do last quarter, because now she thinks I can do stuff whenever. So awesome. Thank you. I want to make sure that was done.
So. Very good. Thanks for the question. Okay, how about Joan? And
yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Regarding to like driver's education, for instance, how is that going to be handled? Also with students that are still waiting to drive with the instructor. They have all their hours in, but they still, you know, they have their grade, but however, they haven't been behind the wheel with the instructor from like last year. How is that gonna, how is that handled?
Yeah, it's actually going to continue like normal. And what I mean by that is we've actually been driving with students most of the summer. And so the might have been IDOT was the one who dropped guidance on exactly how to go about doing that. And so I know that there's a wait time on that. I know that sometimes it does take a while to get the driving done. But that driving has been, even over the summer, and will continue as we start the school year to be a part of what our routine is. Okay.
Will the instructor get in contact with the student or the parent to get that scheduled? Because I know my daughter took the driver's ed last year, and I wasn't sure how that was going to be handled because she said
Yeah, certainly. I would just email the instructor, you know, maybe Carbon, the counselor, and you know, just say, hey, you know, this is something that's important to us. Can you give us some feedback, you know, on when you know, our daughter might be able to slot in and get this done.
Okay, great. That was my question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. Okay, so as I scroll down through, I don't see anybody else with it. Oh, Ben has his hand up. And Ben, give it a try.
Can you hear me?
Can. Hi, Ben.
Wonderful. Hi. I actually don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for this session because it's super, super useful, and I feel a lot better, I guess a lot more knowledgeable about what's going forward now.
My pleasure.
That's all.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay. I have, so I click the Q&A tab. Okay, I have 31 questions. Okay, how do I want to do this? Okay, so I'm just going to start answering them, I guess. Okay. So the thing that I have left on my on this webinar live stream, whatever the kids call this thing that we're doing, I'm going to answer these questions, and then I think we're going to be good. So the first question here is, How will e-learning be handled for kindergartners? Last year, kindergartners were not issued devices. This year they will be. And so your, your kindergarten teachers will be in contact with you with exactly what that looks like. Obviously, the technology usage for a kindergarten, especially, I mean, right, a first, a fresh kindergartner when they're just starting school is going to look a lot different than even a third or fourth grade teacher. But your classroom teacher will be reaching out to you and posting videos with exactly what the expectations are with that. I have somebody on the line with a hand raised. So let's see if we can. Somebody on the line.
I think I'm available now.
There you go. Okay.
Hi, this is Christina Killis. I'm calling. My question is, if you are a family with multiples, so we have twins, if they're in two different classrooms, will the teachers be instructing on the same materials at the same time, or would it be most beneficial to keep the multiples in the same class?
Oh, that's a great question. I honestly don't know the answer to that. What I would do is reach out to your building principal and ask them that question.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just again, communicate, over communicate. Just tell them exactly what the issue is. I know it says I'm Joe Duncan, but I'm not. Just communicate and over communicate and reach out to those building personnel and have those conversations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay, next question on the Q&A. Will each child in the family get a computer from the school? Yes, each child will be issued their own device. Also, if you or someone that you know is having trouble with their internet, they have a ridiculously slow internet, they don't have internet, please reach out to your building. I think fourth quarter we distributed like 24 hotspots free of charge to families. We want to make sure that everybody has internet connection to be able to access the teaching and learning to be able to be successful at home. So please reach out and have those conversations, whether it's you or somebody that you might know, encourage them to. Okay, special education students, will they mainly have those classes while in school? I'm gonna go yes and no. So with special education students, and again, reach out to your special education teacher, reach out to the coordinator, Mrs. Compton, have those conversations, make sure that you're comfortable with the specifics of what's going on. One of the things in particular with special education students is not only will they be on a teacher's caseload, but they will also be on a paraprofessional's caseload. So with every special education student, they will one of our staff members will reach out to them every afternoon to make sure that they have what they need, that they're following the information to see if they need any additional resources. So there will be I guess the answer that I'm really giving is there will be a lot of the special education student support that will actually take place in the afternoon. Next question, are children changing classrooms or staying in the same room? Depends on the grade level. At the elementary school, a lot of it will be staying in the same classroom. Once we get to the junior high and high school, they will be transitioning classrooms just like normal. Next question, I'm sorry if you mentioned this, but the children are getting the Chromebooks If so, and when? Sorry, ask again. All good. Over communicate. It's good. So Chromebooks for remote learners. That will be a pickup in person. You'll have to call and schedule a time, Monday afternoon or Tuesday early evening. Those dates would be the 24th and 25th. All the in-person students will receive their devices when they show up for the first day of school on the 28th. And when I say devices, not just devices, but whatever materials they need, textbooks as well. Okay, next question. If my student is absent for the day, can they do remote learning at home, live streamed for the day? Of course. Yes, fantastic. It kind of gets piggybacked off the conversation that we just had a minute ago. If you think your child is even a little bit sick, keep them home for the day, right? Keep them home for the day. And when that's the case, we've gone to extra lengths to make sure that this instructional model looks, feels, acts, responds almost the same whether you're at home or in person. And so, yes, by all means, if your child is home and absent for the day for a couple of days, if they're up to it, have them live stream, have them work through the morning, do their afternoon work as much as they can. Next question. If the student needs more help to confirm something on their studies, is it possible for the home remote student meet at school with a teacher to receive help? Maybe. So, understand. Yeah. The teachers are going to be available every afternoon, via a Google Meet. And so the philosophy behind that is the remote student or the in-person students as well. If they need additional help, whatever the math lesson was, it wasn't clicking, happens to all of us, right? They can then your child can go into that meeting in the afternoon, have small group or individual conversations with that teacher about what that content was and get all that figured out. Are there going to be any after school? Is there going to be any after school activities drama? So I don't know if the question is, will there be activities like drama, or will there be drama around after school activities? I don't know. I don't think we'll have drama class or drama. I don't think we'll have a play. We haven't had those conversations yet, but we didn't have one fourth quarter. And so our philosophies on, I guess I'll answer it this way. Our philosophies on extracurriculars follow the same steps as our in-person model, right? With a, with a focus on people wearing masks, on focus on us knowing where they are at all times. I had a conversation this morning with one of the building principals about, if we're going to have fans standing outside at a ball game, if we're going to allow fans, which I think we are, then yeah, they need to be wearing masks because they're on our campus. They need to be socially distanced, and we need to know who they're socially distanced near, because if God forbid there's a positive case and somebody who was at the game, then that contact tracing is on us, and so we have to know where everybody was. So we're being, we are not. I said this before. I'll say it again. We're going to be every bit as vigilant with every part of our campus, whether it's inside or out. Please address grading. It says, I want to make sure grading is more strict than last quarter. Yep, we just had that conversation. That's good. Is there still a threshold for the number of students allowed per classroom? Say 15 to 20 maximum. to allow for the 6 foot of feet of social distancing. No, there isn't. You know, we will, you know, we'll try to space out as much as possible, but to say that there would be some sort of integrity with respect to social distancing inside the classroom, we would not say that. And it looks like Joan and Clifford have their hand up. Go ahead and try. Nope. Nope. Why is that not on mute? There we go. Now try, Clifford.
Hello?
Yep, there we go. Now we got you.
Sorry. Another question is for the students that actually are in band, as my daughter is, how is that going to work? I was just thought about that.
Yeah, right. Because,
Granted, I'm planning on, remote learning at home. However, that may change, depending on how things work down the line, give it a week or two. But
yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have that answer right in front of me. I know that that there's been a lot of internal conversation about that, and so I would wait a week or so and email your building principal and counselor and of course Mr. Hodak and have that follow-up conversation with them.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, that wasn't an answer, but I don't know it, so.
That's okay.
I'm not gonna try to make it up on the spot.
That's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, back to our list. Okay, the social distancing one we answered. Live streaming. Will parents need to sign a photo release if their child attends in person, or will their children not be in the live stream? Let me see if I understand the question. Will parents need to sign a photo release if the child attends in person? No. Or will the children not? No. All children will participate in the live stream in the exact same manner that they would participate in a classroom. It's just a classroom in multiple. It's just a single classroom in multiple settings. I think I just kind of paraphrase something from Faith Church. There we go. Our locker is going to be assigned to the students. Yep, students will have the opportunity to use lockers. We just went over that. We know the schedules for the students going to be sent out. And so we talked about that. So we talked about the importance of getting those surveys back to the building principal to let your students know, on the survey say, child's name, grade, will they be in person or remote? Will they be riding the bus or not? And so get that filled out because we need to have all of that information to be able to balance class lists, to be able to balance class rosters, so we don't have 8 students in one class, 8 students in another class, and 22 in the next. And so we can balance that out, and then class lists should be distributed next week. Courtney has her hand back up. Let me see if I can unmute her. It didn't work.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so I think what the parent was asking with the photo release is, in the live stream, are you actually going to be seeing the rest of the students in the classroom? So for the kids who are learning remotely, all those kids in the classroom are going to be streamed into other families' homes, and I think that could be a concern.
Yes, at times that's the case. We will also be distributing basically a guideline for as a parent at home. Kind of what our expectations are, for you during that live stream process.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Courtney. Okay. Schedule sent out. If a teacher or student tests positive, will the entire class need to be quarantined? No. It's all about that contact tracing. That is the magic numbers right now. Of course, I'm going to continue to say it right now because it might change in a week or two. But right now, Will County Health Department, IDPH, they're saying it's 6 feet inside of 6 feet, so not socially distanced, and more than 15 minutes. So if, for example, my son is on the other side of class from a student who tests positive, my son, because they never get within that 6 feet for 15 minutes, they would not, my son wouldn't need to be quarantined, but those sitting immediately around whoever within that 6 feet for more than 15 minutes would need to be quarantined. I realize you would refer, okay. What is the plan? Yep, there we go, there's the plan. Has the district installed plastic shields in the classroom to separate students' desks from each other, even though they're, so the answer to that is, in instances where students have to face each other, so if they're using round desks is really the time, then that's where we are looking at plastic shields. But when it's in a classroom where we're in rows and everybody's facing the same way, then there won't be plastic shields in between desks or rows. Excuse me. Will parents have to certify certain tasks that students do if they remote learn, AKA physical education? Yeah, so if, if part of the, whether it's during the morning or in the afternoon, there will definitely be times where parents will have to certify, yes, my child did this. If part of, and of course, this is depending on the age of the student, right? If there is, part of their 90 minutes in the afternoon is to read 30 minutes worth of social studies. Well, then yeah, depending on the age of the student or the parent would need to certify that. Will special ed and IEP students have the option of pass, fail in place of regular grading system? As of now, no. We are, and of course, especially in the special ed setting, a lot of those things can be very individualized. And so I'm never going to say never, but classes being pass fail, that's not something that we're looking at. Will a student be temperature scanned before they enter the bus or wait until they get to school? So a student having a temperature coming onto a bus, that falls under that whole self-certification piece that I'm responsible for as a parent, right? When my kid goes out the door, and whether I see them at, as they get on the bus at 7:30 or they actually get on the bus at 7:30 and I leave at 6:45, regardless, the last time I see them in the morning before out they go, I'm certifying that they don't have any of the symptoms that our nurses are going to send you to look for. Okay. And so then when they get off the bus, they'll be scanned, but not getting onto the bus. When they get off the bus before they enter the building, they'll be temperature scanned. If you start in-person learning and decide it's not for your child, can you switch to remote learning? By all means. How is a student doing remote learning getting credit for PE? Just talked about that. So the PE teacher will have defined tasks for them or activities, and they will do those things and they will get credit. Our locker is going to be assigned students, yes. We talked about that. Students going to receive their schedules, yes. And as a matter of fact, I believe most of the junior high and high school students should have theirs already. If they haven't, make sure you're registered. I know that registration, and everybody should be registered by now, but for some reason that slipped your mind and you just went, oh wow, I don't think make sure you go register. Because school starts in 2 weeks, and if you're not registered, you can't come. So make sure you get registered. And so if you're registered, you should have it. And then at the elementary school, the you'll get those class rosters here. Hopefully next week after we get we're able to get them balanced. Will there be hand sanitizer in each classroom? There'll be more hand sanitizer than you can possibly imagine. We've got huge jugs of it when they come in. There'll be hand sanitizer in each classroom as well. Changing classrooms at the high school, yep. The students, and again, the high school and junior high will be on that modified block schedule, Monday through Thursday, to try to limit some of that and increase the amount of time in each class. If needed to close to infection, will everyone be automatically remote? How is that going to be handled? How is that going to be handled? And grading. So if we have a positive and we need to close a building, then everybody in that building will go remote. If we just have a case at the elementary school, we won't close the other 2 buildings. And again, hopefully the buildings, if we close them, will just be closed a day or 2. But again, that's why it's so important that this whole model is seamless, because it doesn't, yes, it matters to some degree, but you're getting the same content whether you're at home or in person. It's all one big classroom, live and interactive. How's that going to be handled and grading? So if the building closes, we don't miss a beat, right? It just means that if we have to close the elementary school for 2 days, that just means that everybody in the elementary school was remote learning for those 2 days. We just go. We just keep going. Okay. Will the junior high students use lockers? Yes. Not a question, but just want to thank you for taking time to do this and answer so many questions. My pleasure. I'm very fortunate to be a part of a great community and a great team of educators trying to do the best to take care of 1,100 kids. So that's my pleasure. Can our kids be in school a few days a week and remote for others, if it's too hot? Yep, of course. If your little guy or girl, or even big guy or girl, doesn't handle heat and you need to keep them home a couple days, then of course, please do that. When will we get the daily block schedules to know which classes on which days? I think Mr. Gaham's sending something out tomorrow, but you'll have that sooner rather than later. How quick are we notified about children, teachers, or staff that have tested positive for COVID? When we know, you'll know. That will be information that we will turn around, almost immediately. I think the bigger question is, sometimes the test results take a couple days, and so if there's any delays, it won't be on our end. It would probably be on some sort of testing end. But again, our process is going to be anybody who's even symptomatic or definitely positive test. We'll be in touch with the Will County Health Department, and they'll be helping to shepherd us through that process. Our third and fourth graders behave will they have different teachers or different subjects like before? I think it's going to be like before. I don't think it's going to be just one teacher. Fairly certain that's the right answer. But you'll know very shortly. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to the building principal or the secretaries. Communicate and over communicate. That's what we're here for. If you haven't already said this, how does the notification go if a classmate gets COVID? So if we will individually notify everybody in the contact tracing criteria. Those are going to be who we individually notify, because those students are the ones that need to quarantine and stay home for whatever the 10 or 14 days, depending on which IDPH you look at. And once again, Will County Health Department will tell us exactly what all that looks and how they can come back. So that individual notification from school personnel will happen to those who we contact trace to be isolated. If it's projected to be above 85 degrees and we have to go remote, when will that call be made and how will be notified, similar to snow days? So right now we don't have anything in place there's no part of our plan for not having the morning session in person. But right now, part of our plan is that if it's projected to be above 85 degrees, then all of our staff is going to go home early. And a big piece of that is, if you kind of think about that, the air conditioning in 2 of our 3 buildings is extremely limited. And when it's warm here in the afternoon, staff members will go congregate in those areas, right, to stay cool. They'll continue to work, but they would congregate. Right, we don't congregate in this environment. So I haven't actually thought about, what that looks like. I guess it would be similar to snow days, other than the fact that I'm not getting up at 3:30 in the morning to make this call, right? So I would assume that, before the school day starts, you would get an email from district office, hey, it's forecasted to be above 85 degrees. Make sure everybody, is cleared out of the campus by, I don't remember whether it's noon or 1, whatever the it says. Question, I only see 3 questions. Are all of these texted Q&A visible to all? I don't know. I don't know how this works. I've been dismissing them off my screen as we talk about them. If I originally said my child would be in school, but now want to change my mind, how can I best communicate that? Just call the office. Just call that building office and and just say, hey, my name's Brad. I know that I signed Adam up to be in person. I want to change to remote. Please make a note of that in your official records. And if you have any questions, please call me back. Again, communicate, over communicate. Just have those conversations with the office personnel. For kindergarten, when they're dropped off, will someone be escorting them to their classroom? Good question. I'm gonna hedge and assume yes. We will have, and as I envision what that looks like in any given morning. Yeah, and of course, we're fortunate in that kindergarten's the first in the door, so there's typically somebody right there in that that big intersection directing traffic anyway. So I do not anticipate that being an issue. Can you revisit the process when the child has a fever and is out sick? Does that child need to return to school with a doctor's note, a negative test result, or honor system? If the fever's gone 48 hours in follow-up, who does school notify for classmates wise? So, it's a good question, and one of the things that I don't think that we've really discerned is that we know that there's going to be a specific notification with individual students. We don't know if we're going to say we have a positive test in, Mrs. Miller's room, or if we're going to be that specific. So I think we're going to have some internal conversations on what that's like. And right now, Angie and Mary Kay are taking a note of that for me, I'm sure. And then revisiting the process when a child has a fever and is out sick. And again, the school nurses are going to be sending home the self-certification and what to look for. And so that will be a part of the process. And so then it's a communication between the parent and the school nurse on exactly what's going on with the child. And it's and then it's a communication, and then our school nurse is in constant contact with Will County Health Department, and we'll get guidance from them. I see somebody with a hand up. Lisa, let's see if I can figure out how to. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Lisa.
I have two questions, actually. You keep talking about over-communicating.
Yep.
Has additional staff been hired? Because I know everyone is, including parents, everybody's been working so hard and stressed. Are there going to be additional staff to handle the phone calls, the emails?
No, at this point in time, we've not hired any additional staff.
Okay, do you think, it just seems like if we're over communicating, there's going to be 80,000 calls.
If that happens, I would be ecstatic to get somebody else on board to be able to handle. I would love to have that problem that I'm going to have to hire additional staff to handle additional communication.
The other question I have is, and forgive me if I've missed this, but you keep talking about the 6 feet, 15-minute for the contact tracing.
Yep.
You either reiterate what that means without wasting everyone's time, or put a link in the chat.
There's no way I know how to put a link. Okay. Let me be honest with you. Okay, so let me revisit that. One of the things that IDPH has been saying, and for those of you who don't do acronyms, Illinois Department of Public Health.
No, I know what that is, yeah.
One of the things that IDPH has been on about is if it's a huge red flag if you have not been able to social distance with somebody, even if you're in a mask, and for more than 15 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
And so because in their contact tracing process, they specifically say if there is a positive COVID test, then anybody who they've not been able to adhere to that inside of 6 feet and more than 15 minutes, they're automatically isolated for the 10 or the 14 days, depending on which it is. And so that's a big guidance from IDPH. And so they're the experts. That's what we're going from. And so I hope that answers your question, Lisa.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Okay. Back to our Q&A. Will all homework be completed on a device, or will there still be papers that need to be turned in? It will not be completely paperless. My assumption is there will continue to be at least some papers that need to be turned in. I know that and again, all of this looks different at different grade levels, right? And so if you look at the younger kids, my assumption is that there's probably going to be actually more hard paper. Last year I had a first grader, and the first grader did a lot more actual paper work. Back to special ed, if the elementary are staying in the same classroom, or the special ed teachers go into that classroom for those specific courses. As far as I know, the special ed teachers will still have their special ed classrooms. was unable to join the webinar from the beginning. Will the full recording be uploaded to watch at a later time? I've already instructed our IT department to, after this is done, to put a link to the recording both in my superintendent's blog, which is on our website, and then we'll probably also put it up on put a link on Facebook as well. So yes, you'll be able to watch the whole thing, and as many times as you want. Next, will students still be going to KCC? Yes. The Career Center will still be open, and if you have Career Center students, you should have already had communication from Mr. Gay. How will you be addressing attendance for remote learners or those that may bounce back and forth between modules? And so it's going to be attendance just like just like any other. And so in a perfect world, all the remote learners in the morning will be in the same kind of larger classroom in multiple locations, and so attendance will just be that simple. Oh, my remote learners are these 7. I'm taking attendance, and I see that Adam's not here, and so I mark Adam absent. The where it gets tricky is for those we talked about earlier, for those parents who work, and the majority of the teaching and learning, the remote learner teaching and learning is going to happen at night. And so as long as you are every night you're still downloading the live stream, doing the homework, making sure that your child is being staying caught up, then every day you do work, you're going to be counted as present, right? So we're not trying to look to catch anybody off guard. In whatever your participation looks like, we're definitely going to give you credit for that. While taking the survey, the question about the bus, my answer was no to taking the bus. But my home location, my high school and elementary age student. I answer this because as we get back to normal, can I change it so they do ride the bus? Of course. Yep. So it doesn't matter whether it's sending your kid to campus to learn or just them riding the bus. Like I mentioned earlier, to start the school year, my second grader's not going to ride the bus. We're going to take him to and from. But if 3 weeks into it, I just said, I think, yeah, we're good. You can ride the bus. And we just, again, we notify the school, we communicate, and move there. And again, if another month goes by and circumstances change, and I'm like, all of a sudden now I don't want him on the bus anymore. I call, I make the arrangements, we move forward. Sorry, if asked already, how will additional help be utilized if they need extra help with schoolwork, like a tutor? Every afternoon, teachers will be available online in their Google Meets, and so if the math lesson was over dividing fractions in the morning session, and then some homework was given, and your son or daughter still has outstanding questions, that teacher is literally going to be in their Google Meet in the afternoon, that your son or daughter can log in and get that help. What's considered a temperature these days? My daughter usually runs 90 to 5 and then send her home for school. I don't count that. In Beecher, it's always been 100. It's always been 100. Can you explain the block schedules? Of course. So in the morning we have, from 8 to 11:30, which is 3.5 hours. And if it's an 8-period schedule and you divide that up 8 times, then it's only in 25-minute chunks. And so by the time a kid gets from classroom A to classroom B, gets all their stuff out, gets set up, There, and then you get about whatever 15 or 17 minutes of learning before they have to tear stuff down, get ready, move to the next. And so to extend that time on task, then we're gonna create blocks of, instead of 25 minutes and 8 periods, we're just gonna do 4 periods so they can each be 50 minutes, so they can be twice as long. The downside of that is then you get that instruction every other day. And so there are no perfect answers, but we feel that that's a really good model. Will the tardy intense policies be more lenient or the same? Again, all of our policies are going to revert very closely back to what the normal expectations were before the pandemic, to try to have a return to some semblance of rigor. Are teachers and staff being tested prior to the start of the school year? No, they're not, nor are students. We're going through that self-certification process that I described. Will the students be allowed to drink water during the school day? Yes, they will. As a matter of fact, we've disconnected all the drinking fountains. We've installed water filling stations. We're encouraging every student to come to school with their own labeled water bottle. Are all the kids in the elementary going to the gym in the morning? No, straight to the classroom. Straight to their classroom. Chromebooks are new to 3rd graders. How will that training for them take place? Will parents be in on that? So with the remote learners, they will have that Monday afternoon, Tuesday evening opportunity. Call the school building, schedule a time. Don't just try to show up. One parent can bring one child. And then for the, sorry about that, lost my train of thought. So then for the in-person, then that training will take place with the students on that Friday on their first day, and then there will be definitely videos and maybe even some webinars by all of the teachers to help walk you through that. Will students and staff be required to wear a new mask every day, or will the same mask be worn over and over? We will not be certifying that it will be a new mask every day, but we will definitely be on whatever you want to call it, clean mask patrol, to make sure that students and staff are not wearing dirty masks. Will students be marked tardy if not on time for the remote learners? Good question. Also with the 90 minutes is that including homework as well? I'll answer the second one. The 90 minutes will very often include homework. I'm not going to be surprised if it's a very common model that 90 minutes is some sort of guided practice of something that happened earlier in the day. Will students be more tardy if not on time for the remote learners? Well, the expectation is that it doesn't matter whether you're remote or in person. When class begins, you're ready and you're participating. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I don't know that I know the answer to that, but I'm going to say yes. Make a note of that. Okay, will there be an aide on the bus to ensure masks are properly worn? No, there won't. For several reasons, but that will be the bus driver's duty. And again, they're gonna be assigned seats, and this is gonna be no nonsense. If you can't wear your mask, you can't be on the bus. With the weather changing soon, students have a cough or sniffles, they expect to be kept home. As it could be, allergies and just the sniffles. Again, this is where the continual conversation with the school nurse really comes in, because if Angie or Mary Kay really know, your child and know you know, what kind of their baseline is like, you know, and a student says, hey, you know, Adam's up here and, you know, his eyes are watering, his nose is running, you know, come get him, you know, I'm concerned, then, you know, one of the school nurses can look at him. Yep, that's his baseline of allergy season anyway. And then send them back to class and away they go. But our school nurses have to be, you know, informed and engaged about that in order to know that. If a child tests positive, I understand you will test those. No. Okay, so it reads, if a child tests positive, I understand you will test those he sits by. No, we don't test anybody. What about passing periods? There's no way to know who they pass by, so how will contact tracing work? So if you just pass by somebody, remember it's 6 feet, and again, IDPH, this isn't the world according to Brad Cox or Beecher Schools. IDPH says 6 feet, if less than 6 feet, more than 15 minutes. And so if you're passing by, that doesn't count. And so if a child tests positive, all of the children around will automatically be isolated for the 10 or 14 days, whatever it is that the Will County Health Department instructs us to do, okay? We won't get them tested. I don't even think we can mandate that students get tested, but they will be isolated for that 2 weeks or whatever it is. Will students with an LD only be with their LD teacher, or how will that work? No, they won't. Again, that's a case-by-case basis, and it depends on exactly what the IEP says and mandates. I would definitely reach out and have a conversation with your case manager and Carbon, or if you don't know who your case manager is, then reach out to Mrs. Compton, and she'd be glad to point you in the right direction or give you all the resources and answers that you need. Okay. Very good. Okay, well that's the, oh, there it is. One more. For remote learners that inquire. How's that gonna work? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. Okay. I would definitely, for the choir question, I would definitely reach out to the counselor and the building principal and start that conversation so you can know exactly what that looks like. I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to that. Flu season's coming up. If a student has the flu, do we call in sick just like normal? Of course, you bet. Again, this whole environment runs counter to what we've always kind of been ingrained. Where we are now is that if you're even a little bit sick, you need to stay home. You need to the only way that you should be in person is if you self-certified that you don't have any of those symptoms. Very good. All right. I very much appreciate everybody's time. I know that this is it's a unique and difficult experience for all of us. I appreciate your partnership in this. Just to reiterate, if you have questions, please call your building office, please call your building principal, your teacher, reach out, communicate, and very good. Thanks everybody for being here. You're very welcome. Thanks everybody for being here. Have a great night, and everybody be safe, everybody be well. All right, good night.